Namaste. Welcome to the yoga space and to slow flow. So we're going to start off lying onto our backs. So lie down, find a nice comfortable position. And bend your knees, take your feet nice and wide. And just let your knees rest in towards each other so there's no effort in your legs. And then lift your chest, snuggle your shoulder blades in towards each other, down your back. Rest your shoulders down. Lift your head, tuck your chin in, rest the back of your head down, and close your eyes. And start to take long, deep breaths. Taking these first few moments to let yourself arrive. To let go of the day so far, knowing that you've got nowhere else to be, nothing else to do. So start to tune into the sensations in the body. Just simply noticing as they arise, not needing to change or judge, unless you become uncomfortable, in which case, do move around. Otherwise, just simply noticing. Feel the weight of the back of the head, the shoulders, the gentle pressure of the spine. Feel the weight down through the pelvis, the legs, the heels. And as you take long, deep breaths, notice that natural descending, sinking quality to the exhale. And feel gravity drawing the back of the body down into the earth. Sweeping your awareness back around the body, looking out for any areas of tension, of tightness. Notice any gripping in the jaw, any squeezing, hunching of the shoulders, the fists, the legs. And if you find any tension, then start to let it go, let it unwind with the breath. So let's take a few long, deep breaths to encourage the body to soften. So long, deep inhale, fill the whole body with breath, all the way up to the crown of the head. Pause at the top of the inhale. Exhale, let it go. Again, long, deep inhale, filling the whole body with breath, all the way up to the crown of the head. Exhale. One more long, deep inhale. Exhale. And just let your breath come back to its own natural rhythm. And often when we watch the breath, it starts to change just simply because we're watching. So don't worry if the rhythm becomes a little bit erratic. Just let it go. Just let the breath keep flowing. And start to tune into the movements of the body with each breath. As you inhale, feel the belly lift and spread. As you exhale, feel the belly fall back to the spine. For the next few moments, just simply keep watching the movements of the belly with each breath. And then notice the movements of the chest, the ribs. Notice that the chest expands in different directions, from top to bottom, from side to side, from front to back. See if you can notice each of those different directions individually. And then see if you can notice all three directions together, all at the same time. And then notice the feeling of the breath in the nostrils, a more subtle sensation. Noticing the coolness as you inhale, the warmth as you exhale. Knowing that we're not trying to control the thoughts or clear the mind completely. Just simply noticing the sensations in the body as a way to anchor the mind to this present moment. But if the mind does wander, don't worry, just simply notice the thoughts popped into your head. Acknowledge rather than trying to suppress. Often if we try and push the thought away, it just comes back more frequently and a little bit louder. So just let the thought gently drift to the back of the mind. And make a choice to shift your awareness back to your breath, back to the sensations of the breath in the body. And then taking a moment to set an intention for today's class for kindness and compassion. Sometimes we can be our own worst critics. We can work ourselves hard, put high expectations on ourselves. But our yoga practice is here to soothe, to calm. So whatever arises, whatever your practice is today, just accept that is what it is. No judgment, no expectations. So seal in that intention, and now we'll start to move the body. So inhale, stretch your arms out to the sides. Take a long, deep inhale. And then shuffle your hips over to the left. Hook your left leg over your right. And then slowly lower your knees over to the right. Just letting them fall into a comfortable position. If you need to stack the legs or the knees on cushions or on blocks, then support the legs so you can just let the legs go. No effort. Just using the weight of the legs. Relax your ankles, your calves, your thighs. Relax the buttocks. Sink your left shoulder down into the earth. And take long, deep breaths, especially into the rib cage. Noticing any areas that the breath can't reach. See if you can release that resistance. Taking long, deep breaths into the side ribs, into the back ribs. And then inhale, lift your knees back up to center. Let's go the other way. So shuffle your hips over to the right. Hook your right leg over your left. Gently lower your knees over to the left. Again, just let the knees fall, no effort. Use the weight of the legs. Keep your right shoulder heavy. Long, deep breaths down into the belly. Using each inhale to create a sense of space and expansion. And each exhale, a sense of release, of letting go. And then inhale, lift your knees back up to center. Unhook your leg. And then cross your shins, your ankles, hook your thighs, your knees into your chest. And slowly roll up and down the spine. Just little rocks at first, giving the spine a little massage. Gradually getting a little bit higher and higher until you roll all the way up to sitting, or you can roll over to the side and use your hands to push yourself up. So we're going to do a little bit of a focus today on shoulders and on upper back, because if you've been working from home, you're probably in an unfamiliar position, or maybe it is quite familiar, but generally you might be kind of hunched over a laptop. So you might kind of feel that rounding sensation in the upper back and the shoulders. So we're going to do a little bit of work to stretch that out, to take long, deep breaths into the chest. So if you've got a belt, it doesn't need to be a yoga belt. You can use any kind of clothing belt, or if you've got even like a dressing gown, tie, or a scarf, doesn't really matter. If you've not got anything, don't worry, you don't necessarily need to have the belt. So if you have got your belt, stretch your arms up, keep the belt nice and taut, the arms straight. If you've not got a belt, just do circles without the belt. Don't worry about the belt. Otherwise, if you have, keep the belt taut and the arms straight. If the elbows start to bend, then take your hands a little bit wider. So inhale here. And then exhale, take the belt back. If you kind of get to a point where you can't really go any further or the elbows start to bend again, take the hands a little bit wider, so go all the way down. And then inhale, all the way back up. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift. Exhale, all the way down. Inhale, all the way back up. This time we're going to lower in thirds. If you've not got a belt, just keep with your circles. Otherwise, exhale, lower just a third, just to that point where you start to feel a little bit of a stretch, a little bit of a pull. Make sure it's not painful, but consciously breathe into those areas that feel tight so you can get a little bit of movement using the breath. And then exhale, lower another third. Again, hold, just notice how that feels. Exhale, all the way down. Inhale, all the way up. Exhale, all the way down. This time, hold in thirds on the way up. So inhale, lift a third. Again, find that point where you start to feel the stretch. And breathe. Inhale, another third. Hold. Inhale, all the way up. Exhale, all the way down. Inhale, back up. So I'm going to mirror you. So keep your left arm up and take your right hand back and down. So gently push up through that top hand as you gently pull down. You can play around with the angle of the hand, the arm, to find that point where it feels really tight. So I kind of think of this as like flossing the shoulder blades. So find that point where you feel that kind of little bit of gristle, that little bit of resistance. And again, use your breath. So just tune into the places where the breath can reach in the body, and then also where the breath can't reach. See if you can visualize sending the breath to those tight areas, creating a little bit of space with each inhale. And then changing sides, lift your right arm up, take your left hand back and down. So gently pushing up through that top hand as you pull back and down. And again, feel free to play around with the angle of the arm, the hand. Keep gently pushing up through that top hand and gently pull down with the bottom hand if that feels comfortable. And again, find that point where there's a little bit of resistance, a bit of tightness. Breathe. So tuning back into those three different directions of the expansion of the chest. So from top to bottom, from side to side, from front to back. And then let's go side to side a couple of times. So lift the left arm up, right arm down. Inhale, back up. Imagine you're at a football match. Left hand down, right arm up. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. This time keep your left arm up. Let go of the belt with the right hand and bend your left elbow. Take your right hand onto the elbow and gently guide the arm across. Don't worry about how close it reaches the head. Just find that comfortable position. And then we're trying to roll the tricep, the back of the arm, in towards the face. So that's an outward rotation of the arm. And as you do that, you might find that the left shoulder blade, you might be able to feel that the left shoulder blade slightly slides away from the spine. If your arm is behind your head, you can gently press the head back into the arm. And again, breathe into that area that feels tight. So sending the breath into the left side of the rib cage. Imagine with each inhale, you're creating a little bit more space between each of the ribs. And then you can stay here holding the elbow, or you can take your right arm out, turn the palm back, bend your elbow so you're hooking hold of the belt, or maybe even the fingertips if you can reach. And then you're taking the top elbow up and back, bottom elbow down and back. Just be mindful of trying not to flare the front ribs. Keep thinking about dropping the front ribs down as you squeeze your elbows back. And again, breathe into any areas that feel tight. And then release. Change in size. So take your belt into your right hand, bend your right elbow, dangle the belt down the back. Take your left hand onto your right elbow, gently guide the elbow across. And again, trying to roll the tricep in towards the face. That's an outward rotation of the arm. Just noticing that subtle gliding sensation of the right shoulder blade slightly away from the spine. And then gently press your head back into your arm if the arm is near the head. Otherwise, again, just taking it to a point where it feels comfortable, trying not to overarch the back. Consciously breathing into the right side of the rib cage this time. Creating a little bit more space with each breath. And then you can stay holding the elbow or take your left arm out, turn the palm back, bend your elbow, gripping hold of either the belt, or maybe you can hook on to your fingertips. Squeeze your elbows back. Breathe deeply. And then release. Just pop your belt to the side. And then inhale. Lift your arms up. Turn your palms out. Big circle round. Again, inhale. Arms up. Palms out. Big circle round. One more. Inhale. Arms up. Palms out. Big circle round. Interlace your hands behind your back. Roll your shoulders back. Squeeze your shoulder blades together and gently stretch the knuckles down towards the mat behind the bum. You can tuck your chin in for an extra stretch for the upper back, the neck. And again, just make sure you're keeping your bottom ribs gently tucking in towards the spine so you're not overarching the back. And then you can try lifting your thumbs up away from the base of the spine. Notice if that gives you a good stretch. If that doesn't feel as good, then feel free to find an arm position that feels good for you. And then release. So now stretch your arms out to the side. Again, I'm going to mirror you. So wrap your left arm over your right. Bend your elbows. Either bring the tops of the hands together, or you may be able to bring your right fingers to your left palm. Just make sure you don't bend the wrists. Keep your fingertips pointing up towards the ceiling. Drop your shoulders down. Keep the shoulders down as you gently lift your elbows up. Maybe gently pressing your forearms away from the face if that feels comfortable. Again, breathing deeply, this time into the back ribs. See if you can feel a little bit of movement with the breath into that space between the shoulder blades. And then we're going to add a twist. So we're going to take the elbows over to the right. Breathe. And then coming back to center, lift the arms up, big circle round, changing sides, right arm over left, bend the elbows, either tops of the hands together, or you can bring your hands, your palms together, shoulders down, lift your elbows up, gently press your forearms away from the face, and breathe into those areas that feel tight. Imagine you can fill the back lungs, creating a little bit of space between the back ribs. Imagine that the breath can fill that space between the shoulder blades, the spine. And then add in a twist, so turning your elbows towards the left. Breathe. And then releasing back to center. Another big circle around. Inhale, arms up, palms out. Big circle around. And then release. And then come forwards onto your hands and knees for cat-cow. It's going to remove my socks. So stack your shoulders over your wrists, your hips over your knees. Slide the shoulders back away from the ears. And inhale, lift the tailbone, drop the belly, draw the chest forwards, gaze slightly forwards. Exhale, tuck the tailbone round through the spine, relax your head, relax your neck. Inhale, lift the tailbone, drop the belly, draw your chest forwards. Exhale, round. Inhale, arch. Exhale, round. Inhale, arch. Exhale, round. And now come back to neutral. Imagine you've got a hula hoop standing on your mat. You're going to start to trace the circle of the hula hoop with your ribs. So just slow circles, going as high, as low, as wide from side to side, as feels comfortable. Let your weight shift from hand to hand. And then change in directions. And then coming back to neutral, so keep your hips stacked over your knees and start to walk your hands forward. So keep your hands wide, little fingers touching the edges of the mat. Walk your hands as far forwards as they'll go without the hips moving. Gently spin your shoulders out away from the ears. Melt your chest down towards the mat. Try not to overarch your back. Keep lengthening the tailbone towards the back of the mat. Breathe. And then from there, slide forwards onto your belly. Take your fingertips wide, so have them roughly in line with your shoulder blades, with your shoulders even, having your elbows stacked over your wrists. Separate your feet hip distance, press into the tops of the feet, lift the kneecaps, press the pubic bone down, roll the shoulders back, gently press into the fingers, lift the chest. If you've got the space, scoot your elbows under and forward. Exhale, roll back down. Shoulders back, lift the chest, scoot your elbows under and forwards. Exhale, back down. One more, shoulders back. Inhale, lift the chest, scoot your elbows under and forwards. Press into the feet, keep the pubic bone pressing down. Exhale, release, press into your hands. Push back into your child's pose, so sink your bum back to your heels. Let your chest melt to your thighs. Remembering that you can rest at any point for as long as you need. So take long, deep breaths. And then from there, tuck your toes, lift your hips up and back, downward facing dog. So taking a nice wide, short stance to start off with. So little fingers, little toes to the edges of the mat. Pedaling the legs, bending one knee at a time. Keeping your face soft, your jaw soft. And then look at the space between your hands. Step your right foot to your right thumb and drop your left knee down. Inhale, lift the arms up, keep the tailbone tucked, reach up towards the ceiling. And then exhale, interlace your hands behind your back, roll your shoulders back, squeeze your shoulder blades together, tuck your chin into your chest and stretch the knuckles back down towards that left knee. Breathe. And then release your fingers down and just slide your right foot back. So you might not be able to go all the way, in which case you might just want to try and sit back towards that left heel. Otherwise, if you can sit down towards the heel, walk your fingertips back, press into the fingers. Inhale, lift the bum up away from the heel. Lengthening the tailbone towards the knees so you feel a stretch up the front of your left thigh. And then release, drop your bum down, walk your hands forwards, step back into a plank. So we're not doing any chaturangas today. Yay, I hear you all shout. So we're going to do instead a rolling vinyasa. So bend your knees and then hover your knees, your shins a few inches away from the mat, and then sink your bum back to your heels. Spin your shoulders out, lift your hips up and back, downward facing dog. And then look at the space between your hands. Step your left foot to your left thumb. Drop your right knee down. Inhale, lift the arms up. Tucking the tailbone, reaching up tall. Exhale, interlacing the hands behind the back. Change which index finger is on top. Roll your shoulders back. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Tuck your chin in. And again, stretch your knuckles down towards the back of the knee. Breathe. Keep the tailbone tucked. Keep the front ribs dropping down. And then release your fingertips down again. Slowly start to slide that left foot back, almost alongside that right knee. Start to sink back to your bum, back to your heel as far as feels comfortable. Don't worry if you don't go all the way. If you can, and you can walk your fingertips back, press into the fingers, lift your hips, lengthen your tailbone towards your right knee. Feeling that stretch up the front of your right thigh, your right quadriceps. And then drop your bum back down, walk your hands forwards. Again, step back into a plank for our rolling vinyasa. So stacking the shoulders over the wrists, bend your knees, hover your shins, your knees a few inches away from the mat. Sink your bum back to your heels, spin the shoulders out, lift your hips up and back, downward facing dog. And again, pedal the legs if that feels good. And then just let's bend both knees at the same time, just a few inches. Press your chest back to your thighs. Again, spin the shoulders out. Slowly start to strain the legs if that feels comfortable. And then again, look at the space between your hands. Step your right foot to your right thumb. Drop your left knee down. Inhale, lift the arms up. This time, again, crossing the arms, left arm over right. Bend your elbows, bringing the tops of the hands together or bringing the palms to touch. If that feels too much, you can come into this hugging alternative where you crawl your fingertips to your shoulder blades. Otherwise, if you're in your eagle arms, drop your shoulders down, lift your elbows up. Again, tuck the tailbone, press in your forearms away from the face if that feels comfortable. And then just add a little bit of extra intensity. Curl forwards as if you're trying to take your elbows down towards your belly button. Breathing deeply into that space between the shoulder blades. Release. Inhale. Lift the arms up. Turn the palms back. Big circle round. Take your hands down and slide your right knee alongside your left. So doing that lift, but with both legs this time. So walk your fingertips back. Press into the fingers. Lift the bum up away from the heels. Roll the shoulders back. Keep tucking the tailbone. So focus the stretch more on the quadriceps. This particular stretch. So feeling that stretch at the front of the thighs. And then release. Walk your hands forwards into plank. Roll in vinyasa. Bend your knees, hover your shins, your knees a few inches away from the mat. Move your chest back to your thighs, bum to your heels. Spin your shoulders out. Lift your hips up and back. Downward facing dog. Look at the space between your hands. Step your left foot to your left thumb. Drop your right knee down. Inhale. Lift the arms up. Taking your right arm over your left. Bend your elbows. Either bringing the forearms together or again coming into that hugging action or wrapping your left fingers to your right palm. Drop your shoulders down. Gently lift your elbows up. Press your forearms forwards away from the face. Breathing into that space between the shoulder blades. And then to add a little bit of intensity, if that feels okay for you, bending, curling forwards, bringing your elbows towards your belly button, breathing into that space between the shoulder blades. And then release, inhale, lift the arms up, turn the palms out, big circle round. And then again, slide in the left knee alongside the right. So Ustrasana, camel modification. So bringing hands onto the pelvis with your fingertips pointing up towards your ribs as much as you can. That'll help you to roll your shoulders back and down. So support your back. In fact, let's just get a little bit of space along the side of the body, the ribs. So just take your thumbs, your hands, if you can, underneath the ribs. Feel as though you're lifting your ribs up, rolling the shoulders back, and then tuck the tailbone. Keep that sense of length and space in the upper body as you slide your hands back down to your pelvis, roll the shoulders back, tuck the tailbone, push your hips forwards. Imagine you've got a piece of string on the breastbone. You want to lift the breastbone up towards the ceiling as you inhale, feeling as though you're getting one long stretch from the pubic bone up to the breastbone. Breathe. You can drop the head back if that feels comfortable for you. And then to come up, squeeze your thighs together. Slowly lift up. Sink your bum back to your heels. Slowly slide the hands forwards. Coming into your child's pose. So rest your forehead down onto the mat if you can. And then take your hands back, interlace your hands. So keep your head as it is, but with the hands interlaced, roll the shoulders back, squeeze your shoulder blades together, stretch the knuckles away, and then lift your bum up away from the heel. So you're going to roll from the forehead to the crown of the head. And the arms will gently move over. This is called rabbit or hare pose. And then exhale, release. Take your hands forward, step back into a plank. Bend the knees, hover your shins, your knees a few inches away from the mat. Move your chest back to your thighs, bum to your heels, spin the shoulders out, lift your hips, up and back, downward facing dog. And then look at the space between your hands, step or walk your feet forwards. Come up onto your fingertips or bring your hands to your shins, lift and lengthen. Exhale, folding down. Inhale, lift the arms up overhead. And then Utkatasana, bend the knees, sink the hips low, brush the fingers from front to back, take the arms round in a big circle. And then bring your hands into prayer, hook your left elbow over your right. So you can use your right hand to gently push your thigh across to hook the elbows, roll your right shoulder back, squeeze the palms together, leaning back slightly. Lovely. Exhale, take your fingertips down, straighten through the legs, lift and lengthen. Exhale, hands flat, step back into your plank. Bend your knees, hover your shins, your knees a few inches away from the mat. Move your chest back to your thighs, bum to your heels. Lift the hips up and back. Downward facing dog. Look at the space between your hands. Step your right foot to your right thumb. Keep your left hand down to the inside of your right foot. If you can't quite reach, grab a block or a pile of books or whatever you need to prop that left hand up a little bit higher. And then sweep your right arm back and up. Spin the right shoulder out, leaning back slightly away from that right leg. Breathe. Face soft. Jaw soft. And then exhale, release your right fingertips down, drop your left heel down and windmill up into warrior two on the right. Slide in that left foot back, reach through the fingertips, relax the shoulders. In fact, let's turn the palms up towards the ceiling and you'll feel that the shoulders naturally roll back and down away from the ears. So do that a few times to get that sensation of rolling the shoulders back. And then keep the palms up. And then lift your right arm up, bend your right elbow, take your left hand onto your right elbow, keep the tailbone tucked, lean back towards that left leg. Gently add a little bit of weight onto the right elbow so you're feeling a stretch along the right side of the rib cage. And then release. Gently drop your right forearm to your right thigh. Lift the left arm up, turn the left palm back, wrap the arm around the back. Maybe just grabbing hold of your t-shirt or tucking it into your trousers, or maybe you can tuck your left fingers towards your imaginary right pocket. Roll that left shoulder back. Lean back slightly. Breathe. And then release. Inhale, lifting back up to center. Turn your feet so your feet are parallel, having a fairly wide stance between the feet. Roll the shoulders back, lift and lengthen. Exhale, fold just halfway. Take your left fingertips down in front of the face. Again, use a block if you can't quite reach. Take your right hand on your lower back. Roll that right shoulder back. Keep the pelvis level as you turn your chest towards the right. Lifting the right arm up towards the ceiling. Breathe. And then changing sides. Take your right fingertips down, take your left hand onto your lower back. Again, just check the pelvis is level. Roll that left shoulder back, turn your chest towards the left. Lift your left arm up towards the ceiling, spinning the shoulders out away from the ears. And then release. Walking your hands back around to the front of the mat, and then step your left foot forwards to meet your right. Come up onto your fingertips or bring your hands to your shins, lift and lengthen. Exhale, folding down. Inhale, lift your arms up overhead. Utkatasana, bend the knees, sink the hips low, brush the fingers from front to back, make a big circle with the arms. And then bring your left hand to your left thigh, just gently push it across so you can hook your right elbow over the outside of the knee. Bring your hands into prayer, roll the left shoulder back, push the left palm down into the right, resist by pushing the right palm up into the left, turning the chest, and most importantly, prioritizing the breath. So twists can often feel like they constrain the lungs. So as much as you can, breathe into any areas of tightness. And then exhale, release your fingertips down. Slowly start to straighten the legs as much as feels comfortable. Lift and lengthen. Exhale, hands flat, step back into your plank. Rolling vinyasa. Bend your knees, hover your shins, your knees a few inches away from the mat. Push into your hands, move your chest back to your legs, bum to your heels, spin the shoulders out. Lift your hips up and back, downward facing dog. And then turn both heels to the right. Don't worry if the heels are nowhere near the mat, just turn them in the direction of the right side of the mat. Bend your right knee, come up onto your left fingertips. Crawl the left fingers forward to get a really nice long stretch along the left side of the spine. And then release. Changing sides, turn your heels to the left. Bend your left knee. Come up onto your right fingertips. Crawl the right fingers forwards. And then release, come back to normal downward dog. Look at the space between your hands, step your left foot to your left thumb. You can drop the right knee down, otherwise if you're keeping it lifted, bring your right hand to the inside of your right foot. Again, pop up onto a block if you can't easily reach the mat, and then sweep the left arm back and up. Spin the shoulders out, lean back, breathe. And then release. Take your left hand down, drop your right heel down, windmill up into warrior two on the left, sliding that right foot back so you've got a really nice long stance, front heel roughly in line with your back instep. And then turn your palms up, inhale, exhale, turn them back down, inhale, palms up, exhale, back down. This time we'll turn the palms up and hold in that position. Feel the shoulders roll back, relax them down away from the ears. And then bend your left elbow. Take your right hand onto your left elbow, lean back towards that right leg. Keep pressing through the feet, making sure that left knee stays stacked over the left ankle. Inhale, lifting back up. Take your left forearm onto your fat thigh. Lift your right arm up. Turn your palm back. Wrap the arm around the back. Either again, grabbing hold of your t-shirt, tucking it into your waistband, or maybe you can even crawl your right fingers to your imaginary left pocket. Roll the shoulder back. Again, leaning back slightly. And then release. Inhale, just lifting back up into your warrior two. Exhale, taking your hands down, stepping back into your plank. Bend your knees, hover your shins, your knees. Move your chest back to your thighs, your bum to your heels. Spin the shoulders out. Lift your hips up and back. Downward facing dog. And then again, dropping down onto your knees, keeping your hips stacked over your knees, coming into this extended puppy pose. Keeping the hips over the knees as you walk your hands forwards. Spin the shoulders out, gently melting the chest down. Keep lengthening the tailbone back. And then sliding forwards onto your belly. So interlacing the hands behind the back, separating your feet hip distance, press into the tops of the feet, lift your kneecaps, press the pubic bone down, roll your shoulders back, squeeze your shoulder blades together, stretch the knuckles back, just lifting the chest for this first one, squeeze your shoulder blades together, play around with whether it feels good to tuck the chin in or to gaze forwards. Again, find whatever feels good for you, but keep breathing, making sure there's no pain or discomfort in the lower back. Exhale, release, just bring your hands forwards, rest your forehead onto your hands, or you can turn your head to one side. And then again, interlacing your hands behind your back, rolling the shoulders back. So if the last version felt plenty for you, just keep your feet down. Roll the shoulders back, squeeze your shoulder blades together, stretch the knuckles, lift the chest. If it feels okay, also float the legs. Don't think about height, think about length. So lengthening the breastbone forwards as you lengthen back through the toes. Breathe. Exhale, release. Again, you can rest onto your forehead or turn your head to the side. Just taking a few long, deep breaths there. So you can stick with those cobra modifications if that felt plenty for you. Otherwise, if you want to take it a stage further, we're going to do half Dhanurasana. We'll do that a couple of times, one on each side, and then we'll maybe move on to full Dhanurasana, or you just stick with your half Dhanurasana. So we'll do the right leg first. So stretch your left arm forward, keep the left leg extending back. Bend your right knee. If you can reach, take hold of your right ankle. Otherwise, the top of the foot is fine. Just notice whether the knee's gone out to the side. Walk the knee back into the knees roughly in line with the hip. Press down through the pubic bone. Flex your right foot and then float your left arm, your left leg, your right thigh up away from the mat. Push your right foot back into your hand as you pull your hand back into your foot. Roll that right shoulder back. Breathe. And then release the foot. And again, come onto your forehead or rest your head to the side. And then we'll go the other way. So either sticking with your cobra modification or stretching your right arm out, bend your left knee, take hold of your left ankle if you can reach, otherwise the top of the foot. Flex your left foot if you can. Press your pubic bone down, so slight squeeze of the bum to keep the core engaged to protect the lower back. And then float your right arm, your right leg. See if you can lift that left thigh up away from the mat. Push your foot into your hand back into your foot. Breathe. And then exhale, release. Again, just taking a few moments there, resting the head down. So we're going to take a couple of Dhanurasanas. If you're doing half Dhanurasana, again, just repeat right side and then left side. Otherwise, left, let's give both sides Dhanurasana a go. So bend the knees, walk your hands back towards your ankles or your feet. Again, walk the knees in so they're no wider than the hips. Roll your shoulders back. And then we'll do it in stages. So first stage, lift your thighs up away from the mat. Second stage, push your feet into your hands back into your feet. Breathe. Exhale, release. Bring your hands forwards. Let's just do that one more time, but take a few breaths in between. Take the hands back. If you're changing sides, change sides. Otherwise, grab hold of your feet or your ankles, walk the knees in so they're no wider than the hips. Roll your shoulders back, press the pubic bone down. First stage, lift your thighs up away from the mat. Second stage, push your feet into your hands, pull your hands back into your feet, and then relax your face and your jaw and your forehead and your cheeks. And breathe. Exhale, release. Really well done. Resting your forehead down or rest onto the side of the face. And then slowly easing yourself up. So kind of walk back into a child's pose. Gently ease yourself back. Child's pose is a lovely release after back bends, but you don't want to do it too fast. You don't want the body to jar. So just allow the bum to slowly sink back to the heels. And again, rest your forehead down. Make contact with the forehead and either the mat, the blocks, or stack your fists. And then again with the forehead as it is, take your hands back to your heels and grip the heels. So you're keeping your hands in that position, but lift the bum up away from the heels, still with the hands gripping the heels. So you lift your bum up and you should get a nice rounding stretch through the upper back, that space between the shoulder blades. And then really sink your bum back down, slowly press yourself up. And then we'll come into Navasana to lower down onto our backs. So bend the knees, hover your toes just a few inches away from the mat, squeeze your thighs together, lift the arms up, gaze to your hands, and again, relax your face, relax your jaw, gently squeezing your thighs together. And then slowly, if you can, lifting your feet up in line with the knees, keep the lower back lifting. And then reach your hands forwards with control. Slowly hover your heels, your shoulder blades a few inches away from the mat. And then exhale, splat, release. And then bend your knees. So we're going to float up and down into bridge a few times, and then we'll hold. So bending the knees, bringing your heels in towards your bum, keep your feet hip distance, feet parallel. Press into your heels, inhale, lift the hips. At the same time, float the arms up and overhead. Exhale, slowly lower back down. Inhale, lift the hips, float the arms. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift the hips, float the arms. Exhale, lower. This time, keep your hands down either side of your hips. Inhale, lift the hips, either grip the sides of the mat, rock from side to side, try and spin your upper arms out, walking your shoulder blades a little bit closer together. Or if you've got the space, you may be able to walk your elbows towards each other, support the hips with the heels of the hands, or maybe even interlace your hands underneath your back. Again, still trying to walk your shoulder blades together. If the hands are interlaced, press down through the little finger edge of the hand. Gently squeezing your thighs together to keep your knees stacked over your ankles. And then exhale, slowly releasing down. So finishing with a shoulder stand. If you're not doing a shoulder stand today, if you're close to a wall, just place your heels onto the wall and just have a rest there in Viparita Karani. Or you can slide your block underneath your pelvis and take your feet up into the air with a little bit of support. You can use a cushion or a bolster for a lift through the pelvis as well, not just a block. Or if you're going into your shoulder stand, then bend your knees into your chest. Use a little bit of a push through the hands, a little bit of momentum from the roll to roll up and bring your hands onto your back. And again, you want to take a moment to just set up, try and walk your arms, your elbows as close towards each other. So rock from side to side.
if you can, if you've got your hamstrings allow and you can drop your feet overhead, you can come into halasana. And at that point, if your toes touch down, you can interlace the hands and again rock from side to side to try and walk your shoulder blades a little bit closer together. Before you lift your legs, your feet, bring your hands back onto your back. Slowly lift up with the legs straight, gently squeezing the bum, the thighs. Semi-point the feet, so the balls of the feet are slightly higher than the heels. Try and get the insides and the outsides of the feet the same height. So often the insides drop down and the outsides lift up. So try and send some energy up through the insteps, through the inner thighs. And as much as you can, keep the body active. So it is tempting to rest onto the hands. As much as you can, use your core, your glutes, your thighs. Gaze to your belly button. And then coming down into plow. So again, you can just bend the knees, keep your hands supporting your back, let your feet drop to wherever feels comfortable. Otherwise, if you can, straighten the legs, drop your toes down, interlace your hands, rock from side to side, walk your shoulder blades, your elbows towards each other. And then Karnapadasana, ear press pose. Bend the knees, drop your thighs in towards your chest, knees either side of the ears. You can keep your hands interlaced, or you can re-support the back with the hands, or you can wrap the arms around the backs of the legs if that feels comfortable. And then we're going to roll down from there. So release, start to rock from side to side, and slowly, with control, one vertebra at a time, slowly roll down the spine, keeping the head and neck down. And then straighten your legs along the mat. So Matsyasana is a counter pose to stretch out the throat. So with the legs straight, just rock from side to side so you can walk your hands underneath your pelvis. So palms are down on the mat. You're resting your pelvis onto your knuckles. Walk your forearms, your elbows in towards each other, and then press into your forearms so your bum stays down, but you lift your chest up. Drop your head back. You may even be able to rest onto the crown of the head if that feels comfortable. But again, feel that lift through the chest as if there's a piece of string lifting the breastbone up towards the ceiling. And then shrug your shoulders up towards your ears. Slowly tuck your chin. Roll back down. Lift your bum up off your hands. Release your hands and stretch your arms out to the side. Palms up towards the ceiling. Shuffle your hips to the left. Hook your left leg over your right. Lower your knees over to the right. Keeping your left shoulder heavy. Long, deep breaths. Noticing whether this feels different to how it did at the beginning. It may or it may not. There's no right or wrong. Just simply noticing. And then lift your knees back up to center. Shuffle your hips to the right. Hook your right leg over your left. Lower your knees over to the left, keeping your right shoulder heavy. Stretching your right arm out. Relax the fingertips. Long, deep breaths down into your belly. And then inhale, lift your knees back up to center. Unhook your leg. And grab whatever you need to help you feel nice and comfortable and warm in your Shavasana. So once you're down on your back, just finding that comfortable position for you. Maybe with the knees bent, especially if your lower back tends to feel fragile, just let your knees rest in towards each other.
Otherwise, if you're comfortable with legs straight, and let your feet, your knees roll out to the sides. And then once you're down on your back, lift your chest, snuggle your shoulder blades in towards each other, down the back, rest your shoulders down. Lift your head, tuck your chin in, rest the back of your head down. Close your eyes. Take long, deep breaths. Letting go of any control of the breath, just let it find its own natural rhythm. And again, with each exhale, find that sense of weight down through the back of the body, weight down through the heels, the legs, the buttocks, the spine, the shoulders, the head. Feel as though the bones are heavy, sinking down into the earth. Soften your forehead, your eyebrows. Let the skin of the cheeks fall back to your ears. Relax your lower jaw away from your upper jaw. Peel the tongue from behind the teeth, from the roof of the mouth. Let it soften back into your throat. And if your mind tends to wander, just notice, acknowledge, and then gently shift your awareness each time back to the movements of the belly with each breath. Each long exhale, let go, relax, release. If you have the time to stay longer, then just stay and relax. Just tune me out. Otherwise, if you need to move on, start to take long, deep breaths. Gently move your fingers, toes, hands, feet. Take a long, deep inhale. Stretch your arms overhead. Give the body a really nice long stretch. Stretch your hands away from your feet. Exhale, release. Bend your knees and slowly roll over onto your side, whatever side feels most appealing for you. And just let your head rest onto your arm. Stay and take long, deep breaths. And then when you're ready, use your hands to push yourself back up to a comfortable seat. Taking a moment to notice how you're feeling. Feeling the effort, the energy, your intention for kindness and compassion. Take away with you a feeling of calm, relaxation, peace. Bring your hands into prayer and then bow forwards. Take your hands to the earth to give thanks. Lifting back up. Namaste.